There's only one solution to Yu-Gi-Oh's problem. As we know, Yu-Gi-Oh is plagued by numerous problems that can only make the gaming experience sometimes be essentially, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe...
Draw your last pathetic card so I can end this, Yugi.
My grandpa's deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba, but it does contain the unstoppable
Dueling Wave.
Welcome back, guys. Before we get into it, let's real quick shout out the Discord and the other social medias in the description below. Check out the growing Discord community. Help us get to 100+ members. Past that number, surpass your limits.
I don't want to hear your excuses. Just suck it up, newbie. Dig deep and push past your limits.
We've got some really cool people down there. We have a Discord ban list where all the stuff is, all the stupid stuff about Yu-Gi-Oh is banned, such as the stupid negate monsters, the floodgate monsters, just the unnecessary extra dumb stuff we see in the game that makes the game unfun and unplayable. We hit that stuff because we want to have fun, so come join us if that sounds any interesting to you. Our goal is with a tight ban list to control the game, the meta game, where we can get to the point where maybe like 40+ decks are viable to be tier 1.5 threats. So yeah, if that sounds good to you, come join us down below in the description. Anyway, let's continue with the topic at hand. I've heard so many of you commenters chime in on ways you would fix the game. And I have to say, some of these ideas are really unique and pretty interesting, while others not so much. But hey, they can't all be winners. The suggestions that I've heard have ranged from something like Konami make a hand trap that's like a drone lockbird, but like for other types of aspects of the game, not just searching, maybe stopping hand traps, maybe stopping whatever, right? Implementing new master rules where players can play together on turn 0, right? I make an action, you make an action, I make an action, you make an action. Or even the standard limit special summoning to 5 or 3 or 8 or whatever the number happens to be. While all these ideas are actually really cool and interesting and have some thought behind them, they're not nonsense. And I also love to hear your ideas in the comments down below. Please comment down what you think would fix this game, because hey, it might be on a future video here on the Wave. All these ideas being really cool, they don't actually hit the problem. They're merely band-aid solutions. Now, what do I mean by that? I've thought about this quite some time. The only way to fix the numerous problems of this game is a top-down approach, meaning Konami has to have a change of heart, and entirely change their game management philosophy. Anything short of this does not work. Come on, Dueling Wave, what are you saying, bro? 5 summons would fix the game for sure. They'd make the game way better. What are you saying? I hear you say in the comments or in your mind. Yes, I can read your mind. Wrong, it would not. Why wouldn't it though? Because as long as Konami refuses to change their philosophy, their company mission, their entire ethos, the same problems will continue to resurface over and over and over again. Just without summoning a million times, right? We would just only remove the million summons, but everything else would still be rough. An example that I can put forth for my reasoning for why the summon limit wouldn't work is Kashtira Rice Heart and cards like it. Hell, Turbulence, right, from Rescue Ace, to a smaller extent. Those are 2 I ripped off the top of my head, but I'm sure you can think of more. A Rice Heart could be summoned in 4 summons. It was Kashtira's way of like, hey, let's play low to the ground, not playing the nib, not auto-lose, where a lot of decks just struggle to out a Rice Heart. We can just win the game on that spot, unless they draw like a Book of Eclipse or a way to out it, which was a 50-50 proposition, right? You just are basically saying, hey, do you have the out? No, you lose. In 4 summons, they could still make a quick effect banish with a macrocosmos attached to it with a 3000 stat line, and this would only be the beginning. In a format where you can summon theoretically infinite amount of times, Konami managed to still make a monster that was worth it to just not even summon 5 times. Just because Nib was in the format, if we don't play into Nib, we just win the game with a Rice Heart, so let's just do that. What about Rescue Ace? A more fair example. You can realistically in Rescue Ace in 2 to 4 summons get out a Turbulence, right? No Nib threat, no problem. You set 4 to the field. Can you out that? That's still 4 cards. That could be 1 card that turns the Rescue Ace Turbulence into a Towers, so it sticks around for the next turn, where you can again reset your traps from the deck. You have a quick effect, Monster Reborn or Search or whatever, and then you have another 2 interrupts where one's a Infinite Impermanence and one is a Trident, with some floodgate effects attached to them as long as Rescue Ace Hydrant is on the field. That's off basically 1 card, right? Like if you go Airlifter, Search, Emergency effect, Special Summon Turbulence, Tribute Airlifter, bam. That's 2 summons, 1 card combo, where like a Rhoda will get you to the Airlifter, right? So like you have 4 ways to get to that. If you have Durandal, you get 7 ways. I'm sure if there was future Konami archetypes that were trying to play under 5 summons, they'd have more searchers, kind of like Snake Eyes, but just Rescue Ace ethos with it. So you'd still lose, right? Like you just lose with less summons, but you'd lose other types of spam. Telling me setting 4 cards from the deck is still kind of spam. I mean, you're still spamming cards to the field for free. And on top of that, since this is basically a 1-card combo, Rescue Ace will also have some hand traps in hand, right? Check out the hand trap video above if you haven't already. Any deck that cannot do something like this in this hypothetical format would just auto lose, right? So if you take a deck that spams, let's take, I don't know, some sort of Link deck into account, right? Hell, you can take Snake Eyes into account, right? All that would mean would be, here's the new tier 0 oppressive decks, which are like these 2, 3, 4, 5 decks that just can do whatever they want with less than 5 summons. And then there's these other decks that basically cannot play, right? You just fundamentally changed the problem to something else, but there still would be a problem in this game. Hell, what's to stop them from making a quick Link, quick Synchro, quick XYZ, quick Fusion, whatever you want to insert here, quick Tributes summons, where you summon 5 times on your turn, set up your board, kind of like a Tenpai style where they quick Synchro in the battle phase, right? You'd set up your board, you go to your opponent's turn, and then you just quick effect Link, Synchro, Fusion, XYZ, whatever you need to do on their turn 5 more times. You'd still summon like 10 times. It would just be in the span of 2 turns. It would just be arbitrary, like, oh, I just have to wait for this to pass. And because it's quick linking, synchroing, fusing, XYZing, it could be even more broken than the stuff we have right now, because quick effects are one of the most busted things about this game. Decks summon so much on your opponent's turn that I've been nibbed on my opponent's turn. So they're setting up their board. I've summoned 5 times on their turn and they nib me. Come on. Guys, the 5 summons, I love it. It's a solid idea, but as long as Konami has their philosophy, they can break any rule change you can implement. If you gave them 1 summon, they would just be like, they would have like a masterpiece type monster where you would remove from play. Okay, so it'd be like 1 spell card would search another spell card. That other spell card would search this masterpiece monster. The masterpiece monster would say, banish 2 cards from your graveyard in whatever archetype this is. Banish those 2 cards, kind of like Rescue Ace Turbulence. Summon me from the hand, right? And so then what do you have? 1 summon, yet you still have like a masterpiece type card or a Rescue Ace Turbulence or whatever, right? They could still do it. There'd be no issues, right? Hell, Rescue Ace could still theoretically play in that type of format, because you would just do emergency, summon Turbulence, tribute a guy in hand, still set 4, right? No matter how many limits you impose, they'll always find a way around it. Let's talk about the next option, right? How about we change the master rules where turn 0, both players can make an action, and then the other guy gets another. Like, you get an action, then they get an action, you get an action, they get an action, right? So it's almost like we break up this one first turn into a bunch of micro turns. Essentially kind of reverse engineering power creep to the point where, like, back in the day how we used to like T-set or whatever, you would just have that now in like a micro turn form. So like, okay, your opponent goes, they normal summon, then you get your micro turn where you would set like a trap card, and then they would get to like set a card, and then if they activate an effect, you could activate that trap card immediately. And so it's like, basically it's like it's a weird limit your actions, kind of like the ethos of that first idea, which like stopping summons, but also just like kind of with every action. And like both guys have that limitation, right, on turn 1 or turn 0 in this case. The idea allows for both players to play, but like I said before, the result would probably be stupid levels of power creep as long as Konami doesn't change its inherent philosophy on game design and game control. How do you ask? Because they would just make a new Snake Eyes, Tier Laments, whatever, etc. archetype that would just be able to play around those rules, where it would just be like make an action, and it would just plus more cards. It would get you more advantage, more stickiness to the board, more powerful bosses. It's inherent in their card design, not the game rules. Because obviously back in GOAT format, Edison, you don't spam that much in those formats, right? What happened? What happened since then? Well, it was change in game design, card design, right? Power creep naturally accelerated, and they just went kind of full into it. As long as that's a thing in Konami, the way that Konami thinks, there is no way to fix this game. It can only be fixed from the top down. Konami has to have more fair card design in mind. They can't make a searcher that can search itself, that can send a card on normal and special summon, that can also then on the field just randomly send a card to the graveyard for cost and itself to e-telly a guy from the deck. They can't make an archetype that has also a searcher that when it's added to your hand, you can normal or special summon it, and then it searches again. Then when it's used as link fodder, it floats into your spell trap zone, so it can trigger other effects in the archetype. Oh, we also will make them completely generic, so then they work with the most broken summoning mechanic, which is link monsters. Oh, and wait, we're gonna give it this one bungus from the main deck that when he's sent to the graveyard, he floats into way more cards, which then searches you more cards if you reborn these 2 guys. that I just talked about, right? The ash and the poplar. Or how about let's go back one tier 0 format. Let's go back to the tier elements format. Oh, we have cards that when they're sent to the graveyard for card effect, which all of their cards proc off card effect, right? It's kind of like a cost in effect form. You'll send a guy to grave. That guy then will fuse with another guy in grave, give you free advantage by resetting your engine, resetting your deck, resetting everything, right? You don't lose cards anymore. You now plus to play. It's a whole different game design where you'd invest cards to make a boss. Now you're just like, here's, I'm going to put these guys back in my deck. For free, just get this Dragostapelia or whatever. And also keep in mind, with all these dang archetypes, everything is generic. You can make whatever you want. Yeah, there's no way this could bite us on the ass. Konami, probably. How about the other power of the elements deck? Sprite. They just work with number 2. If you go do a number 2 in the bathroom, you've successfully summoned gigantic Sprite. It's not a rules problem, guys. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's not a rules problem. It is a Konami card design game management problem. Company greed problem. This game is amazing. So many duels feel like straight up anime battles where we're just slinging, tossing cards. I'm trying to break your board. You're trying to break my board. You're trying to crack back. I'm trying to stop you. Blah, 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 blah. But so many games also feel like, man, I can't play, right? My opponent made full negate board or floodgates or this or that. Post side, especially where you side in whatever is the silver bullet to your opponent. You just try to auto win the game. Almost makes the best of 3 worse than the best of 1. The best of 3, I think, not to go on a tangent, but the best of 3 feels like it only exists because it stops FTKs. Not for more fairness and more fun, more engaging duels. Someone said the point of Yu-Gi-Oh is to not let your opponent play Yu-Gi-Oh. It's a sad reality. It makes me a sad panda. But hey, as a great man once said, it is what it is. Guys, what are we thinking? What solutions do you propose? Am I right that no rule changes will fix this game because Konami is actually the problem here? Just look at Master Rule 4. It technically slowed the game down, as all the players thought, but then it just sped it up to warp speed 10x, where decks like Ojamas could go +9 on like lithium combos. Any solution you can think of or present can be turned into the next problem by Konami. It is what it is. It's just, it is that way. But hey, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video. Also, don't forget to check this video out right here because you're gonna wanna go down the YouTube rabbit hole, man. YouTube rabbit hole, SC. Anyway, I'll see ya as always.